rank and file like me will be miles away behind barriers.
Yeah,
don't go near them.
Here's the thing. This might be the most shocking thing you've ever heard. It's possible I'm not there.
I figured.
I'm probably going to be there.
You're growing up, my friend.
No, it's not even that.
You're too busy.
It's the busy thing.
Yep. You take on too many responsibilities, and now you're killing your. It's not necessarily your social life. You're the entertainment that you enjoy the most, which is overnight entertainment.
Well, here's the other problem, though. As you know, I mean, that is primetime viewing hours for natural disasters. Also,
oh, we got a hurricane at the same time. We got Milty ripping through the Gulf.
It's true.
By the way, I'm not saying that lightly because this is a crazy hurricane in terms of the path, and I know you are I'm not going to say like you. Adam loves hurricanes.
No, I love
and devastation. Coverage. You really are intrigued by the coverage. I think you would like to be in a hurricane one day.
I have been
risking life and limb.
Not a terrible one, but I've been in a couple.
Not covering it though.
No. I would love to be. Oh, I'd love to be out there on the. Oh yeah. Oh, Adam Cantor. Yeah, I would love to do that.
Second most dangerous encounter you've had in your life, being in a hurricane, or does it actually surpass being in the same restaurant as Andrew Cunanan?
He wasn't inside; he was outside.
You could have nabbed him.
He was outside in his car. He never came in the restaurant.
You could have been, I don't know, Charles Bronson. That's an old name, but vigilante. You could have ended it all.
I could have stopped it. I could have saved Versace.
You were too late.
I failed to act.
You weren't brave enough.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be to be in a hurricane. I would love to grab, have to hold on to like a telephone pole and stay on the air doing the live coverage. Like that's my dream.
Okay, I'm going to say a Cat 3 is not going to lift you off the ground. A Cat 4 or 5, you're off the ground.
It might, and
you have a good sturdy base.
And I also have family, and to relate it, as I have some family whose house was very badly damaged last week in the hurricane, and it wasn't a direct hit. And this one, like literally every path they show, like the middle of it just goes right over their house. I'm like, this sucks. It really sucks.
Where are they?
Right outside Tampa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That ain't good.
Not good. They're obviously freaking out. Our whole family's freaking out, trying to wonder how they're doing. But it's I love live event coverage of all kinds, whether it's natural disasters or anything. I just love to see how media reacts and how they respond and how they cover. And that's something I've always dreamed of doing. I did get to cover. I was in New York for a terror attack, so I got to go hard news coverage one day. That was interesting for me. But I'm obsessed with how they do that. So I'm gonna have to be doing that. I also have to figure out at some point to do laundry from last trip to then go on this trip to you also have to go up to Logan, Utah, and somehow get to that.
I don't even why you are so overloaded with beats and coverage. You're going to Logan to cover, and it's a big story, and I'm sure the Rebel program is thrilled that you guys are covering them with multiple people. But you texted me the other night. You're like, "Hey, where are you staying in Logan?" I was like, "Okay, well, here's the place." And you're like, "It's impossible to stay there." I'm like, "Yeah, it's the smallest town ever."
There's one hotel, I think.
I think there's a few.
One that I would stay
there. Yeah, exactly. And then there's a lot of whatever. There's a lot of actual motels. You are staying 60 miles away.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah. I mean, it's decent, but also it's just more like, okay, just getting everything ready and in order. And tomorrow's the Golden Knights, so really don't have tomorrow. So to go out and spend 5-6 hours tonight out on the Strip probably is not conducive to my schedule the next few days.
Disappointing.
But I still think I want to go.
You're letting us down.
I still might end up down there.
Can you get near it? Are you going to use a credential? Because that's the other thing that's in question is they told people basically, hey, there's nowhere to watch. Which I don't know. I don't want to blame everything that the A's are involved in on the A's. But has this ever happened before where we couldn't watch an implosion sort of close?
Well, we're watching the implosion every day in the organization.
We're watching multiple implosions across the NFL.
Well, I mean, in the A's organization.
Too, too. Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you were making a Raiders joke.
A live implosion.
The funny thing is, they actually had a pretty good second half. I think there's some hope for the future.
That was the worst thing that could have happened.
Well, they lost slots in the draft, I suppose.
Well, and not only that, as I was asked last week another to do story. I was asked, hey, write a story of who the top 5 players in the A's could be when they come to town. And as I went through it, I said, all these guys played too well the second half of the season. They're all going to be traded.
It is the most impossible, 4-year outlook you could ever ask someone to take care of.
Anybody that played well is probably getting traded.
There's no belief that, even the guys who are just emerging, you could be up for 60 games. There's a good chance that you could be moved for more capital. in the future. All right. Well, this is Oasis it's a Dodger house, but it's a house divided because Johnny, the bartender right now, is an LA guy. He's from the Valley. Go up and tell him that the Valley is not LA. Let's see what happens.
It's not.
He's from the Valley. He's a tried and true Dodger fan. The next bartender up for swing shift, massive Padres fan. So there's always a little, I've been in here, there's always a little friction. And on the field, there's friction. In the concourses, there's friction. In the parking lot, there's friction. I knew this rivalry was super heated. And, there's a little big brother, little brother. My God, both sides are freaking fired up. And it's funny, I saw the two vets, I'll be nice, of the business. Tough guy Mike Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser talking about the Machado throw into the dugout and said, was that unsettling? And I just looked at it. I laughed.
Unsettling.
That is 100% what I would do.
First of all, I don't even know if I would call it a throw.
It wasn't. Yeah. No, I would throw. I've talked about it before that if I got into it with another team, especially if I didn't like the manager, what was the example? It was probably Dusty Baker, right? Back like 5 years ago, where I was like, if I was a pitcher, I would just get tossed from the game. I would go into, I'd throw from the stretch and just, by the way, Louis Tion passed away, so I'll make a Louis Tion reference. You know who he is?
We had a very unorthodox wind-up.
He had like a full twist. So I would just do a twist and then go all the way through and throw right in the dugout. So that's unsettling. That is psychotic behavior. What Manny Machado did, all right,
Yeah. I think he wanted to throw it hard and he thought better of it. Kind of last second, just kind of threw a changeup. For sure. I mean, it's a long shot still, but obviously my rooting interest here is Padres. Because if I do go to the World Series, I'd rather go to San Diego than LA, for sure. I know the Tigers still have a long way to go to get there, but that'd be very cool. But I mean, I think it's fun. I think for those that didn't understand, and I think there's a lot of people that are east of here that are like, oh, West Coast sports are soft and rivalry, okay, whatever. Yeah, it's real.
I mean, it's not something to brag about, but when people say that, they have no idea.
Of course.
How abhorrent behavior by fans exists everywhere, and people, especially in some of these baseball rivalries, really freaking care. And obviously, every time it seems like anytime there's a Niners-Rams game, there's fights at SoFi now because the Niners take over 70% of the stadium. So now people are intense about sports. I want to do a giveaway right now: 364-1100, 364-1100. We've got tickets to one of the VGK games upcoming. They open tomorrow, but this weekend on the 13th. They're going to be playing the Ducks. You can grab a pair right now from Griffin, 364-1100, 364-1100. The game is on Sunday. It is a 7 o'clock start. It is at the Fortress. AXS.com is where you can get the tickets, and tickets courtesy of Porta Subs, your neighborhood sandwich shop. Again, 2 tickets. Griffin's going to set you up. 364-1100. So I don't know if you got to listen to the beginning of the show yesterday. I was completely unhinged, out of control, not focused. It was just rambling about officiating this weekend in so many games. I really don't want to get in the mood again. And here's the great part. And we're going to get to the Jets in about 8 minutes, right? The Jets fired their coach. It is an absolute dumpster fire. I'm not in a bad mood at all as compared to yesterday. That's how pissed off I was that officials are so infringing on the game of football. But for you, do you like stories like this where there's so many layers, the truth eventually comes out somewhere, right? With Devontae, the reporting at the beginning of the week made it look like, not necessarily reporting, but made it look like Antonio Pierce had screwed up and liked a social media post. And maybe that prompted Devontae to finally say, that's enough. That's a final straw, but that's not what it was. And Jay Glazer talked about it today. I know you've been talking about it on shows and reporting on it. It began before last Tuesday.
Yeah.
There were problems leading up in training camp, in the early part of the season. And it was Devontae who went in on Monday, who, by the way, said on Tuesday to Kay Adams, I haven't talked to, he said this, is his appearance today? So he said he hadn't talked to Kay in like a week, which is inaccurate.
No, it was report. That was so. Here's another issue.
Okay.
That's aggregation. He said he hadn't talked to Antonio Pierce since the tweet had been liked, which was about 7 hours before he taped the Kay Adams
and
show.
then someone switched it to 7 days.
And I think other people were like, he hasn't talked to him at all. Like, first of all, it's not what he said. He said he hadn't talked to him since the post had been liked on Instagram, which was like 8 hours earlier. But then I saw that reported everywhere, and I'm like, wait, where's everybody getting this from? That's not what he said. And I know people close to the team that cover the team every day that are like, he said he didn't talk in a week. Like, that's not what he said. Said he didn't talk to him since the post had been liked. And they hadn't been talking for a while. Because as you mentioned, this stuff all started to happen in training camp. And I know, like, I was screaming about it, and everybody said, what are you talking about? Devontae said he loves it here. Fine. There was obvious tension. And it goes back to how much I made a big deal of the thing in training camp where Devontae said he didn't want to play in a preseason game. The next day, Antonio Pierce said everybody that's healthy is playing. And the next day, Devontae had a mysterious injury and then didn't play. That is showing up the coach. And that was Devontae sending a message that I'm in charge of what's going on here, showing up Antonio Pierce. It also goes 2 weeks before that, or a week before that at least, when 2 other players had children during training camp and missed a day. Devontae Adams missed almost 2 weeks. And people said, not a big deal. You can do it. Hey, he doesn't need training camp. No, he doesn't need training camp. But it's the message. And those were the things that were really bubbling below the surface and things that were a big deal, then people try to pretend weren't. And now they're kind of popping up again.
All right, well, the other thing going on, and there's actually a third story, but the other thing going on is some of the fallout from Max Crosby in postgame that looked like it was in the locker room.
It was.
Talking about.
My question, my bad.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
I didn't see any credit on that for you.
Well, who cares about who asked the question? I'm just saying, for our audience, it was me that asked the question.
Why didn't you tweet out that Max opened up to me?
Don't do that stuff.
You don't do that. Okay. So Max goes in on who? Was this Lombo?
It's Michael Lombardi.
Okay. And Lombardi, I want to get the quote correctly here, or correct here. Where is it? There it is. This was Lombardi talking earlier in the week. Max Crosby didn't go to the game on Sunday, so that was the previous game, right?
Yep.
With a hamstring. Lombardi said to me, that bothers me. There's something going on in that locker room. So there's been a full-throated response to that. Although, has Max actually mentioned Lombardi?
No,
he mentioned the McAfee
kept
show.
Saying the clown that does one day a week on the McAfee show. And
oh, really?
I will
specific.
say,
okay.
Again, for our, I knew who he was talking about, obviously. Right. It was very clear who he was talking about. But I did talk to Max after this interview, the one and I said, hey, I just want to make sure before I write this, you are speaking about Michael Lombardi, correct? And his response was basically blank that guy. Yes, you know who I'm talking about. So, yeah, that's who he was talking about. Why is he doing this? I don't know.
Why now, too?
I don't know.
Right? And also, I mean, I have respect for Michael Lombardi. He worked in the NFL. He's a Belichick guy. He's a good football guy. And he does a good job on his radio show because he's giving people what they want, right? Some insight, some opinions. He's ruffling feathers. But I will reference again, Griffin, you want to do the motion, right? The punch down motion. What's the freaking point as Devontae Adams stuff is blowing up? You're not winning. I mean, I guess you're frustrated after the game. And you're the jerk who asked the question,
well,
but
to be clear,
he could just not answer it and move on.
To be clear, Max wanted to talk about this, and I'll tell you that because I didn't ask him about Michael Lombardi. My question to him, and Michael Lombardi said he should have gone to the game. He should have been on the sidelines. If you're not going to play, be at the stadium, be there with your team. Don't be sitting at home. And the fact that he's home is clearly a sign that he's not happy with the team. He's on, whatever. My question to Max was, how hard was it for you to be sitting at home while that game was going on? And this is when he went off.
Not exactly referencing anything specific.
No.
Okay.
No. And
so
he went off.
So he thought he knows it. So, I mean, am I crazy if I put Devontae and Max together? There's games being played.
Well, they do refer to each other as their twin.
All right. I mean, clearly Adams was not getting along with AP.
Yeah.
Why is Max throwing gas on a fire that already exists? That to me, you're complicating AP's Antonio Pierce's existence.
Well, if you want to be, double cynical, I guess, in a way, or spin it positively, like a lot more people were talking about Max going after Lombardi than we're talking about Devontae and the team. Is he taking the pressure off the Devontae AP situation?
Do you think he thought it through?
I'm just saying that there is that.
I know. I think it's very rare that someone is actually thinking of taking pressure off on another story, thinking of being a distraction.
And I think he was. I mean, he did go on. We're talking about the part where he's going after Lombardi. He did also go on to just passionately talk about wanting to be a Raider. He's like, look at my chest. It's tattooed right here. I'm not going anywhere. I love this organization. And he also, I thought, had a really here's another thing that was lost in Max's rant about Michael Lombardi. He also was asked just before that about playing through the distraction that is Devontae Adams and Antonio Pierce right now. And he kind of chuckled at that and said, do you know the things I've been through as part of this team? And that's fair. Like, there's been wild, crazy things every year with this team since he arrived. And it's not on Max. I'm saying since he's been here, there's been a crazy story every couple of weeks, from Gruden to Ruggs to, everything that's gone on. This is just another small thing for Max Crosby to go through.
Laugh your way to work.
I've been on the show 1,000 times, Adam. I don't understand what we're supposed to be doing. I feel like it's just another version of Headline.
This is usually the segment that